Bonjour, bonjour, superbe de vous retrouver aujourd'hui pour votre tuto de vocabulaire aujourd'hui. Alors, on va regarder les activités quotidiennes. So lovely to see you today for your tuto. The vocabulary one, this one, and we're going to have a look at daily activities. Now, the reason I've chosen daily activities is obviously this is useful vocabulary because this is something that you should just have, really, whatever level that you're at. But the other reason that I chose this is because I think it's a really good way to showcase the difference between normal verbs, let's call them that, normal verbs and reflexive verbs. And they come up in all sorts of places, but the place that we first learn about reflexive verbs is in the daily routine in the morning and then going to bed. And I think it's quite useful to have a look at that and compare it with verbs that aren't reflexive in that routine as well. And also other ways that we can say how we do those daily things. Let's have a look. So, les activités quotidiennes. Quotidienne, that's feminine adjective, and it means daily, and it's feminine and it's plural because les activités are feminine and plural. So, le matin et le soir. Notice that it's le matin, le soir. When we say le before a day or morning or evening or afternoon, we're talking about everyone. So every morning, every evening, or mornings, evenings. We don't say les matins, we say le matin. So il est 7 heures à Paris, le réveil sonne. So it's 7 o'clock in Paris and the alarm rings. So that's that word réveil is wake up. And we see it in the verb now. Manon se réveille, se lève et se prépare. Elle fait sa toilette, donc se lave, et s'habille. There we go. So this is what we would expect, isn't it, in that early morning routine. So, se réveiller, reflexive verb, to wake up. And the actual wake up call, the alarm, notice the relationship, the noun is le réveil. So, se réveiller, reflexive verb. So she wakes herself up, if you like. Se lever, she gets up. Yeah, so another reflexive verb. Et se préparer is to get ready. So all of those reflexive verbs. But you could use faire in some of this. Elle fait sa toilette. It means the same thing as se laver. So se laver, to wash yourself, to get washed. Faire sa toilette, it means the same thing. So you've got alternatives. But notice that we're using all these reflexive verbs when we're talking about the morning routine. And then et s'habille, so she's getting dressed. And we know that with reflexive verbs, it's je me réveille, tu te réveilles, il se réveille. We're talking about Manon. She's a third person. She's in the third person because it's elle. And so that's why we've got the se réveille, se lève, se prépare. These are not infinitives. These are conjugated to the third person of Manon. Au même moment, il est 1 heure du matin à Montréal. So at the same time, it's 1 o'clock in the morning in Montreal. Antoine, qui rentre d'une soirée chez des amis, se déshabille, se couche et s'endort. So at the same time, it's 1 o'clock in the morning in Montreal. Antoine, who's just come home, rentré from an evening out with at his friend's house, gets undressed. So we've got s'habiller, se déshabille, and then se réveille is to wake up, se lève to get up, se couche is to go to bed. So se couche is reflexive as well. Et s'endort, falls asleep. S'endort, which comes from s'endormir. So if we were to look at these as infinitives, a lot of these ER verbs could be reflexive verbs, could be ER verbs just like any other. So se réveiller is the infinitive, se lever, se préparer, se laver, s'habiller, se déshabiller, to get undressed, se coucher, and this one is s'endormir. If you wanted to look them up in your Becherel. Okay, pendant qu'Antoine dort, Manon prend son petit déjeuner en écoutant la radio. So, whilst Antoine is sleeping, Manon takes her breakfast whilst listening to the radio. Quand elle a le temps, elle préfère lire le journal, mais ce matin, elle est pressée. Elle doit donc se dépêcher. So when she has the time, she prefers to read the newspaper, but this morning she's in a hurry, être pressée, and so she must rush. And there we go, another reflexive verb, se dépêcher. Quand elle est prête, elle elle réveille sa petite fille, l'habille et lui prépare son petit déjeuner. When she's ready, now, she wakes up her daughter, yes? Now, elle réveille, or her granddaughter, sa petite fille, she wakes her up. So that's not reflexive anymore because she's waking her daughter or granddaughter up. It's not back to herself. So if we just scroll back up here, this is her waking herself up. That's reflexive, back to herself. But now she's waking up her granddaughter. So she's doing that to someone else. So it's not reflexive anymore. And then she's getting her dress. So l'habille et lui prépare son petit déjeuner. So she dresses her. She's not dressing herself. So that's not reflexive, dressing her. And then has her breakfast and prepares the breakfast. Le soir, elle la déshabille, la couche et l'endort avec une chanson. So again, this is not reflexive. In the evening, she gets her undressed, she puts her in bed and puts her to sleep with a song. Okay, so that's not reflexive. All right, we're going to see beyond the daily morning routine, can we spot some reflexive verbs in action here, mixed in with normal verbs, because they're not just confined to that daily routine. So, chez les Londrins, le père s'occupe des repas. So this one is about le repas, which is meal times. So at the Londrins' house, the father is responsible or looks after the food, the meals. So there we go. We've got a reflexive verb, which is s'occuper de. Actually, it's got a de after it. S'occuper de, and it means to be responsible, look after. So je m'occupe des enfants, I look after the children. Or je m'occupe de faire le café, for example. I'll do the coffee. I'll be responsible for that. So s'occuper de. And again, that's conjugated to the third person because it's to le père. Il fait les courses et vers 18h, il commence à cuisiner, à préparer le repas du soir. So he does the shopping and around about 6 o'clock, he starts to cook and prepare the meal. So now we've got a reflexive verb, but just because we're focusing on reflexive verbs, it doesn't mean that's all there is. And these are just normal verbs, aren't they? So faire les courses, commencer à, et préparer. All right, let's have a look at their meal time. Now, could you say this time to yourself out loud? If you can see it on the screen, can you say it? Good to practice your numbers whenever you get an option and time. So à 19h45, so à 19h45, il met la table, il met le couvert. So il met la table is he's laying the table. Yeah, and you can see him he's putting out the plates and the glasses, etc. That's le couvert. Okay. Car les Londrins se mettent à table, par sa table, à 20h pile. Because the Londrins, now they sit down at the table. We don't use s'asseoir for that. It's se mettre à table, and that's reflexive. So you know mettre means to put, probably. Make it se mettre à, that's settling down, but with the table. Because we also have other se mettre as well, usage. So this is sort of like opening up for some people a whole new book of verbs, a whole new load of ways of using verbs. So that you know that verb mettre, make it reflexive. It means to sit down at the table. There's no sitting translation directly. Or we can use one that's not reflexive, par sa table, which also means to sit down. À 20h, which I'm sure you said out loud to yourself, à 20h, pile, 8 o'clock on the dot. Pile means on the dot. Quand ils sont à table, Madame sert le dîner. So when they're at the table, Madame, or the mother, Mrs. Serves the dinner. Okay, so they're just normal verbs. Don't say this number. I nearly said it for you. Vers 20h45, Léa et son père débarrassent la table pendant que maman est devant la télé. So around about, that vers means around about. So around about 8:45, Léa and, because notice it's 24-hour clock, we know it's in the evening though, Léa and her father clear the table, so débarrasser, la table whilst Madame is in front of the telly. Very nice. Hier, le lave-vaisselle était en panne. So yesterday, the dishwasher was broken down. Yes, it's le lave-vaisselle is British dishwasher. Léa a fait la vaisselle à la main avec du liquide vaisselle. So Léa did the washing up by hand with washing up liquid. Et son père a essuyé la vaisselle avec un torchon. And her father dried the washing up with a dishcloth, with a hand towel. Très bien, très bien. All right. Let's look again, because we're interested in looking at the comparison of the daily routine and looking at how reflexive verbs work. And we've got some more examples here. So, la toilette, this is the whole sort of like getting ready thing in the morning. So, elle est sous la douche, elle prend une douche. So you can say they've got flexibility, you can say it a number of different ways. So she's under the shower. We don't really say dans la douche, sous la douche. You could probably get away with dans, though, I think. Elle prend une douche, she's taking a shower. Just normal verbs. Il est dans son bain, il prend un bain. So he literally is in his bath, he's taking a bath. Elle se savonne avec du savon. So she's using soap. Il se lave la tête, se lave les cheveux avec du shampoing. Okay, so he's washing his head, or so we got se laver, se savonne there. Il se lave la tête, so he's washing his hair. So that's one way of saying washing his hair. Or so you could get away, if you don't want to mention hair, because so many people have a problem with that word, you could just say tête. So you could get around it that way. So il se lave la tête, il se lave les cheveux, hair. Now, this word caught me out when I was in France, because quite often when you get an ing in French, it just seems like, it's exactly the same as English. So, du footing, du parking, for example, they're English words. Du camping, they're all ing words that work as you'd expect them to. So I went swimming with some friends. I said, don't worry, I've got the shampoo. And I said, ne vous inquiétez pas, j'ai du shampooing. And everybody just burst out laughing. And they were like, shampooing. Ellie, it's not shampooing. C'est du shampoing. C'est du shampoing. So there's a little pronunciation point. Don't get caught out like I did. Okay, so we've got more reflexives here, haven't we? Elle se rince, enlève le savon avec de l'eau. So to rinse yourself, again, reflexive. That's a nice word, isn't it? Similar. Don't forget the pronunciation. Se rince. Il s'essuie avec une serviette, puis va se sécher les cheveux avec le sèche-cheveux. So he dries himself with a towel and then goes to dry his hair with the hairdryer. A couple of things to notice there. So we've got reflexives again. Se rincer, se souiller, se sécher. Voilà, se sécher. When you're talking about a part of your body that you're cleaning, or even actually when you're in pain in a part of your body, it's always impersonal. If you don't say mes or ses cheveux, it's les cheveux. So je brosse les dents. I don't say my teeth. Je brosse les dents. So it's always that. And then, don't you think it's great? Hairdryer, literally dry hair. There you go. So fantastic. Right. What else have we got there? Oh, as I was saying, il se brosse ou se lave les dents. So, il se brosse is to brush, again, reflexive. Les dents, teeth. Avec une brosse à dents. So, with a toothbrush, a brush for teeth. Notice the pronunciation, dents. Et du dentifrice, toothpaste. Il se peigne avec un peigne. So, he's combing his hair. Se peigner, yes. Avec un peigne. Elle se brosse les cheveux avec une brosse. Il se coiffe. So, she's brushing her hair with a brush, and they're getting they're sorting their hair out. Se coiffer, like the coiffure. Ils se regardent dans la glace. So they look at themselves in the. Sorry, I don't want to do that. They look at themselves in the mirror. So regarder normal. Yeah, I'm looking out the window. I'm watching telly or something. Regarder. But if you're looking at yourself, because that's what reflexive verbs are, isn't it? Back to yourself. Looking in the mirror, you're looking back at yourself. So, voilà, se regarder. Il se rase avec de la mousse à raser et un rasoir. So he's shaving with shaving foam and a razor. Elle met de la crème sur son visage. So she's putting cream on her face. And just quickly then. Elle se maquille. She's putting her makeup on avec des produits de maquillage. Elle se fait les yeux et met du rouge à lèvres. So she's doing her eyes and she's putting on some lipstick. Le soir, elle se démaquille avec un lait démaquillant. et du coton. And in the evening, she takes her makeup off with makeup remover and cotton ball. Il met de l'après-rasage ou de l'eau de toilette pour homme pour sentir bon. So he's putting on aftershave or perfume for a man to smell good. Elle se parfume, elle met de l'eau de toilette ou du parfum. Le parfum est plus fort que l'eau de toilette. So she's putting on some perfume. Again, notice all these reflexive verbs. She's putting on eau de toilette, and then they're letting us know that there's a difference between l'eau de toilette and parfum, which I'm sure you know. And then the last one, il se coupe les ongles avec un coupe-ongle. Elle se fait les ongles, elle met du vernis à l'ongle. So he's cutting his nails with a nail clipper, and she's doing her nails, i.e. she's putting some nail varnish on. Excellent. Hope you found that useful. Good to just to have a little bit of review and perhaps some new stuff for some people in there as well. Merci beaucoup d'être venu et puis à la prochaine fois. Merci, au revoir.